London, 1942. The city was still breathing through pain. Buildings stood broken, windows were boarded up. Streetlights stayed dim, not by choice, but by fear of enemy bombers. This was a nation that had survived the Blitz, but survival came at a cost. People were tired, food was rationed. Sleep was rare, hope was fragile. And yet London stood. On that cold morning, crowds slowly gathered along the streets. There were no cheers at first, just quiet curiosity. Then the sound arrived. Boots heavy, rhythmic, not endless. Not the sound of retreat, not the sound of fear. The sound of an army arriving. Down the streets marched thousands of soldiers. Tall helmets, fresh uniforms, new weapons shining under the weak British sun. These were not British troops, they were Americans. For months, Britain had fought almost alone in Europe. France had fallen. Much of the continent was under Nazi control. Germany looked unstoppable. Yes, supplies came from across the Atlantic. Yes, promises were made. But promises don't stop bullets, armies do. Standing quietly among officials was Winston Churchill, the man who had carried Britain through its darkest hours, the man whose speeches kept a nation from collapsing, the man who never publicly showed doubt. But this moment was different. Churchill did not speak, he simply watched. Young American soldiers marched past him. Some looked nervous, some smiled. Some tried to look brave, even though this was their first step into a global war. Churchill noticed the details, the equipment, modern and abundant. The confidence, quiet but real. The numbers, overwhelming. This wasn't a token force. This wasn't symbolic support, this was commitment. In Churchill's mind, memories flashed. Nights when London burned. Moments when Britain wondered if invasion was next. Times when even he questioned how long they could hold on. And now, here was the answer. Later, Churchill would reflect on that day with a simple but powerful realization. Britain was no longer standing alone at the edge of Europe. The world's greatest industrial power had arrived, not just with words, but with men. To the British public, the sight meant reassurance. To Nazi Germany, it meant a warning. To Churchill, it meant something deeper. It meant time to rebuild strength, time to plan offensives, time to turn defense into attack. The war did not end that day. Victory did not come quickly. Blood would still be spilled, cities would still fall, but the direction of history had shifted. From that moment on, this was no longer a desperate stand for survival. It was the beginning of a long, brutal march toward victory. As the last American units passed by, Churchill finally allowed himself a rare, private thought. The outcome of the war was no longer a question of if, only when. And London, scarred but unbroken, silently agreed.